welcome back to our channel Law Minds, where we discuss legal matters and important cases. Today, we are going to talk about Consumer Protection Act of India, which safeguards consumer rights and interest. We will dive into the top 10 consumer protection cases that have a significant impact on consumer welfare. So, let's get started. Before starting, we need to get an overview on the Consumer Protection Act of India. It was enacted in 1926 and amended in 2019. It is a crucial part of legislation that promotes consumer from unfair trade practices and misleading advertisements. It promotes fair trade and establishes consumer forums for quick and efficient resolution of complaints. By doing the introduction, let's start with today's top 10 Consumer Protection Act cases. First up, AKHIL BHARTIYA UPBHOKTA versus Ms. AGGARWAL Jewelers. One of the significant cases under the Consumer Protection Act is the AKHIL BHARTIYA UPBHOKTA versus Ms. AGGARWAL Jewelers case. It involves the Bureau of Indian Standards (BIS) and the hallmarking of gold jewelries. The BIS operates as the hallmarking scheme to protect consumer against fraud and ensure manufacturing high maintenance industry. So this case is a must read. I have provided the full document in the link, so kindly do read the whole case. Uh, Case 2, SEVAKRAM PRABHUDAS versus Deputy Municipal Commissioner. Another interesting case is the SEVAKRAM PRABHUDAS versus Deputy Municipal Commissioner. It involves around the encroachment and temporary licensing for cabin land cards placements. The Municipal Corporation of the City of Vadodara issued notice to applicant instructing them to remove encroachments within 15 days. This case highlights the balance between consumer rights and administrative factors. Our third case is KOLKATA and others versus SHRI APURBA KONAR. Moving on the next case of KOLKATA and others versus SHRI APURBA KONAR, we see disputes between the Railway Claims Tribunal Act and the Consumer Protection Act. The court's finding emphasizes the need to establish deficiency of services in case alleging consumer rights violation. This is a very important case in the Indian jurisdiction. Our next case is Ravi KANTH VEDA versus Miss MAYTAS Property Private Limited. The case of Ravi KANTH VEDA versus Miss MAYTAS Properties Private Limited involves depositors and Prudential Capital Market Limited. The court's finding clearly clarify the jurisdiction of the Consumer Protection Act over disputes with non-banking financial complaints and companies and the applicability of Consumer Law Board order. Our next case is SURESH PRASAD GUPTA versus MD Tata Motors and organizations. In the case of SURESH PRASAD GUPTA versus MD Tata Motors, we can see a complaint filed against Tata Motors for a faulty vehicle. The National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commissioner emphasizes the need to prove deficiency of services in such cases. Our next main case is Municipal Council BARNALA versus ABHISHEK SINGLA. Our case involves a complaint against the Revenue Department. The National Commissioner conducted that the Consumer Protection Act 1986 does not apply in such cases as the Revenue Department performs statutory functions. The complaints found resource under the revenue law of the state government and eventually received the desired possession certificate. The case highlights the importance of understanding jurisdiction and available remedies. Our next case is Ashok Kumar Verma versus Bharat Group of Hotels. In the case, the applicant sought a review under the new Consumer Protection Act 2019 for proceeding that occurred under the old Act, the Consumer Protection Act 1986. However, the law is clear that the new acts in prospects in nature, and the cases filed before its implementation continues to be governed by the old Act. Hence, the application for review under the new Act was deemed not maintainable. So, our next case is General Security and Information versus PNB and others. We have a case where a complaint was filed under the old Consumer Protection Act 1986 without provisions for review. Subsequently, the review was sought under the new Consumer Protection Act 2019. However, since the proceedings were conducted under the old Act, the power of review under the new Act cannot be applied retrospectively. The consumer decided not to review the order dated 2/3/2020, reaffirming that cases under the old Act will continue to be governed by it. Our next case, which is a must read, is Manoj Kumar Bhatt versus Miss Shankra Constructions. Here, the opposite parties filed an application for review under the new Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Despite the case being conducted under the old Act of 1986, the consumer reiterated that the new Act is prospective and does not affect cases filed prior to 27/2020. Thus, the application was dismissed, emphasizing that cases filed before the implementation date will be governed by the old Act. Our last case for today is Darshana Devi versus Tata Capital Housing Finance Limited. We have a recent case where an applicant sought a review under the new Consumer Protection Act of 2019 for proceedings conducted under the old Act of 1986. As per Section 107 of the new Act, cases filed before its implementation are not affected by it. Hence, the Commission dismissed the application, stating that the proceedings in the case will be governed by the old Act, and the order dated 2/2/23 cannot be reviewed under the new provisions. So, here was the top 10 cases of the Consumer Protection Act. If you find this video informative, please hit a like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share it with your friends. So until next time, stay informed, stay protected. Thank you for watching, and thank you from Law Minds.